More reaction today on the release of two Soto sisters freed in a Yorkton courtroom yesterday. Here's APTN's Brent McGilvery with that.
I think they're probably, quite honestly, I think they're probably still in a state of shock, you know, because it's been a 30-year battle.
Odelia and Narissa Quewezance were released on bail yesterday pending the results of their ministerial review. They were convicted of the 1993 murder of Anthony Joseph Dolph.
We're home free, and I just want to thank the judge, and that's all I have to say right now. Thank you, and my family being here and all our support. It's a relief.
Odelia can look forward to living a new life with her partner and twin daughters in Rain, Saskatchewan, while Narissa was offered a home with the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples National Vice Chief Kim Bodin and his wife in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
I recognize how the courts work, and they'll pretty much use any excuse to make sure that people can't get home, you know, particularly Indigenous people.
FSIN Second Vice Chief Edward Dutch-Lara said it's time for them to go home.
We are, the system got it right today. These two ladies have been incarcerated for 30 years. They have never once said they were guilty of that crime they were being accused of. And for them to, after this long, to be allowed into the community till the provincial government, the justice system, decides on what their next steps will be. We think it's a great day.
Narissa and Odelia can now start their healing journey with support after the terrible experiences they have endured since their incarceration, some of which Narissa spoke about with Kim Bodin prior to her release.
I'm looking forward to really hearing her story and what happened, and even today she was telling me about experiences at Pine Grove, you know, the kind of experiences that she was addressing, which were very negative. The judge, in his comments as well, you could see the shift and changes, and he made it that from 1993 to compare where we are today, and that was big to me. So this is a little bit of a glimmer of hope, in spite of the fact that the prosecution fought tooth and nail and wouldn't even, you know, provide disclosure. That tells you where they're coming from. A lot of people actually, since this actually went public, have reached out to me as well, offering their assistance. She will, you know, I know she's been institutionalized for so long. It's going to have an effect on you. We know that. And so we're going to make sure that she really gets introduced to the right people, the right supports, and I think it's really going to, I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen. You'll see, probably I can see a big transition.
Brent McGilvery, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Welcome back. Mistawasis First Nation in Saskatchewan recently got together to remember missing and murdered men in their nation. APTN's Brent McGilvery has that story.
Families from Mistawasis First Nation are gathering to honor and remember the 17 men from their families that are missing and murdered. According to a recent APTN Investigates episode, there are more than 600 missing or murdered Indigenous men across Canada since 1974. This year, Mistawasis decided to represent the missing and murdered Indigenous men with denim jackets.
Today we use a denim jacket to represent MMIM because some of our men were found in denim jackets. Mistawasis has 17 missing and murdered men, and not just Mistawasis alone. So you can see how much the numbers would be if we really researched and looked across Canada.
Audrey says Indigenous men and youth are not seen as victims of crime, but offenders.
Our women and children are known to be vulnerable and victims. First Nations. Our Native men, on the other hand, are seen as offenders and that they are violent. If you look at penitentiaries, correctional centers, and youth jails, who are they full of? Our Native men, and prisons and remands have been expanded.
University of Saskatchewan professor of sociology John Hansen has been studying this issue and says the rates of missing and murdered Indigenous men and boys need to be recognized and examined with a holistic approach.
Indigenous people looked at things holistically, so if you include the man with the woman into this problem of missing and murdered Indigenous people, which is really, it's really, the basis is racism, racism and colonization. They are both being victimized and murdered, both Indigenous men and Indigenous women, at really high rates. So it makes no sense to just have a separate inquiry on one of the gender when the other gender is being really victimized in disturbing rates as well. Many of the Indigenous people that go missing and murdered, they share a lot of the same experiences with colonization, the suppression of language, residential school effects, racial discrimination in the justice system, in which Indigenous people who are victimized are given less attention, and the men seem like unworthy of an investigation, because of the negative stereotypes.
John says the Indigenous population is growing, and men are often homicide victims, especially in urban areas where many have gone missing.
We need to do, a lot of healing in the Indigenous community, a lot of healing. We need social economic development. We just need a holistic approach on all aspects of life. And it's very difficult to do that when we live in a society that has a low opinion of Indigenous people, in which Indigenous people get discriminated against. And this is what makes it so difficult to heal. So we really need to stop and challenge these stereotypes and look at Indigenous people, as valuable members of the society, and not to treat them according to the negative stereotypes.
You are our light, our heart, our gift of love from the very highest source. So every day I vow to make a difference, share a smile, live, laugh, and love. Now I live for us both, so all I do to honor you.
Brent McGillivray, APTN National News, Saskatoon.